sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black, and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite.
Welcome to Bengals and Brews. I am Dell Altman, joined by Pork Chop, the BSG, and special guest today, Daniel Alameda from TWSN, the Right Way Sports Network. I'm sure you all know who he is. What's up, Daniel?
How we doing, man? I'm excited to be on, like we were talking about before the show, and it's this prime season, man. This is prime season for all of us. So I'm excited to be on.
Well,
this is Dale's favorite season.
We have excitement going on, but hopefully some good news comes up soon, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what we hope, and I think it's kind of been a whirlwind, and as you guys have seen, Twitter's been an absolute minefield for Bengals. But it's like I said, this is the part that I enjoy, man. Like I love the season, obviously, and the fans love the season, but this is the analysis and the team roster construction. This is our bread and butter at TWSN, and that's something that, like I said, it excites me. Draft coverage, free agency, all these discussions excite me, so I'm excited.
So you get upset when the season's going. You can't wait for it to end.
Not really, but there's times during the season when I'm like, man, like what are they gonna do here? So I love the off season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what else? Hey, you know what else I love? Midwest Best Barbecue and Chop Shop T-shirt. Proud sponsor of this show. That's one thing that I love the most and all that. And Daniel, last time you said you were going to try to head out there. Have you had a chance to head out there to Midwest?
I did. I actually think I went out there.
Yeah.
I forgot when. It was before this entire summer. I tried it. It was good. I like they got good cornbread. That's what I remember.
Yes,
that's what I remember. The wings, I don't necessarily remember exactly how they were, but for sure the cornbread. That was.
You did. If you would have got the G-Funk wing, you would have remembered how it was.
Grippo's where it's at. The Grippo wings are elite, and now they have them in boneless, and I'm excited to try that. We got a live show next Saturday at 3:30 that we're doing from Midwest, so that's top priority.
Perfect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we'll start with the combine because you and Malik was down there covering it. And we'll start with maybe who impressed you. You can list 2-3 guys, however many you want. In the interview portion, who was maybe an impressive person? Could be clips you shared, didn't share, just somebody who really impressed you in general.
For sure, man. And this is, like I said, and we appreciate everybody tuning. I see all the comments. I think you can go to any different position, man. There were a lot of guys. I'll say one guy that particularly impressed me, and that may not be necessarily on the Bengals radar, but Jahdae Barron, Texas cornerback. This is a dude who showed out this year. He is an absolute ball hawk. But just from hearing his answers and discussing with him, this is a dude who understands the game of football, and he understands the different, positions. He talked about, the importance of the safety room. He had talked about the importance of having a pass rush, how the pass rush and the defensive backs coincide, and just hearing how, his projection to the NFL level. He was very honest with, what he wants to be successful and where he feels that his, strong suit is. He feels he's one of the best cover corners in, this class. And he was definitely one of the guys that immediately impressed. And when we look at the pass rushers, I would say there was one guy, there was a lot that impressed me, but Donovan Ezeraku is a guy.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I'm a huge fan of. He's a little on the quote unquote smaller size, 6'2 3/4, whatever, 255. But this dude plays big. This
long arms. He's got long arms, which helps.
Extremely long arms, and just once again, hearing how he was very prideful on his production, right? This is a dude who was very productive, I believe, 12 to 15 sacks.
I think it was 16 and a half. He was only below Mike Green.
And he's a guy where he's currently, quote unquote, projected late first round, but he's one of those guys where, and I'm sure we'll get into this conversation, but I would be confident taking, if there were a trade back for the Bengals, I think anywhere in those 20s, I think he's going to make a team very, very, very happy. But he was one of the guys, that impressed me. And there are a whole bunch of guys that we talked
Absolutely.
to. Very impressive. So I could go on and on.
Well, one guy at the combine that, I was ready to cross him off the list, the Texas tight end, Gunnar Helm. I'm like, 4.91. I'm sorry. But then you see a picture of his feet that he sprained. I'm like, how the hell did this dude even walk? So I was ready to shut the door. I'm like, wait a minute now. So what was your take on that?
Yeah, I was very impressed with, talking with him. And he was one of the first guys that I watched in this year's class, right? Getting ready in October. I remember, obviously, Malik and I watched a ton of film, and he was one of the guys I was watching. And it was I forgot who they were playing, but it was a seam ball. Quinn Ewers kind of did a sidearm throw. It was a touchdown. Gunnar Helm doesn't give me any problems, doesn't give me any concerns. I understand the athleticism, but this is a dude who hurdled many defenders at the college level. And after the catch, he's just a smooth runner, and he's a smooth route runner. He's got the size to do it. He's a guy I can immediately see slotting in. He was very similar to a Tanner McLaughlin from last year, how I viewed, and I still think he's a guy that could step in and get 500 receiving yards, 600 receiving yards on the Bengals. Gunnar Helm's going to be a very solid pro. What he did at Texas, this was his first real productive season, but he's one of the guys is going to be a great value for a team in round 3. I understand the athletic profile may not be there, but like I said, he was arguably their best weapon. For the course of the entire season, he was Quinn Ewers' go-to target. So I'm a major fan of him, especially in a round 3.
Let me ask you this, though. How much do you think that sprained ankle affected his performance at the combine? Because everybody's like dogged on him now because of the combine, right?
Yeah, and I'm not concerned. And there was something and this will take me into another tight end I was a fan of, just watching them in that gauntlet drill, right? Gunnar Helm was good. He was good in the gauntlet drill, but so I totally think it affected him. I mean, anybody tries to walk on a sprained, ankle. You saw yesterday Jalen Brunson in the NBA sprained his ankle, could barely walk. I'm telling you, dude's ankle was purple. It definitely affected him.
Oh, yeah.
But Mason Taylor, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. I think Mason Taylor, and this just goes for the NFL in general, he was productive for LSU for 3.
Chops to LSU, homie.
Chops to LSU guy. He's loving this.
He's going crazy right now. 3 straight seasons. He was very productive, and he is just a smooth player. I went back and rewatched him. I think
say it again.
Very smooth. Mason Taylor is the guy. I value NFL Bloodline. I think NFL Bloodline is a real thing. And it's not everything, but this dude was consistent. He can do it all. He's, a great blocker. And I think that he's going to be just a solid, productive NFL player. I'm a big fan of him.
Yes, I agree. And I am a homer, but I will say that it doesn't always work out with the NFL lineage with LSU tight ends.
Yeah.
Well, Thaddeus Moss,
Randy Moss's son.
Yeah. but that goes with a lot of people like Brendan Rice. Obviously, didn't pan out. But Mason Taylor, like I said, from everything I've heard and I've seen from him, this dude is going to be a productive pro, and he's got the size to do it too. Yeah,
and sorry, Ryan Sparks, but I know you love Fannin, but I got Mason Taylor over Fannin right now. And Arroyo, if it wasn't for his injury history, I might have him over Fannin, but the injury history gives me major pause with Arroyo.
Especially here in Cincinnati, since last year we drafted a guy with injury history, looked like a stud, and then had an injury.
He's a beast. Terrifying. He was a beast. And at this point, like we talked about this on State of the Jungle, Eric All, at this point, you just can't expect a lot. You can't go into the season and expect. So in how I view this tight end class, I understand people are talking about Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland, solid prospects. Yeah. The value is round 2, round 3. If I'm the Bengals, you should consider maybe like Colson Loveland. Yeah. But the value is round 2, round 3, Gunnar Helm, Mason Taylor. That's the value.
I mean, T-Bowles here is putting you on the spot right away. Just, who's your prediction at pick 17? I mean, it's so early, but hey, he wants a prediction.
Shot.
Man, this is a long discussion. Like I said, we just talked about this on State of the Jungle. We got a lot of cool content, draft content planned. How I view this, I'm not necessarily going to give one guy right now, but my thought process is it is defensive line or bust. Let's go this route. If we're not talking defensive line, right? If defensive line, if there's Shamar Stewart there, if maybe Kenneth Grant's there, let's say Walter Nolan is gone, and you do consider a Will Johnson, you do consider a Malachi Starks, you've got to consider everybody on the board. And at that point, if Ashton Genty's on the board, you have to consider. And the reason why I say that is the need is defensive line. That is the need. But when we're talking other positions, best player available, I believe Malachi Starks could be there, and I think that they'll be big fans of him. I mean, he's a Georgia guy, 5-star recruit. Dude, I personally view him more as a nickel, but he's very productive as a deep safety. Or there's guys like Ashton Genty could be on the board. Offensive line, I'd probably wait because I think there's value in round 2. But my gut tells me, and how the Bengals typically draft, they do draft a year in advance, especially with this Trey Hendrickson news. I'd be very, very shocked as of right now if they don't see a pass rusher and say that's who we're going with. Who would
From the
I
middle
personally
or
go
the
with?
out?
I value Mike Green was one of my favorites and Malik's favorites and one of our favorites here.
Yeah.
I'm a big Mike Green fan. James Pierce, I'm a big James Pierce fan. What concerns me a little bit is there's the names Michael Williams, there's the names, Shamar Stewart. Those guys are fine, but I'm just not fully confident in saying, hey, I'm ready to develop a guy. And those guys are
Right.
kind of projects when it comes to pass rush. Michael
That's where I've
Williams
been.
is a prospect that the Bengals should like, right? 6'5", long arms, can play 3-tech. He's got the run defense, and he flashed as a pass rusher. I'm just not ready to bet on a flash. I want the production that I saw in college. So if I'm looking at a pass rusher, I'm looking at the Mike Greens. I'm looking at the James Pierce Jr. But an interesting one would be, and one I need to dive more into, is a Jihad Campbell.
Yep, I was going to mention him, and I I was going to mention Nick Eamon-Wari as two other guys that aren't D-line guys.
Also the linebacker out of Georgia. What's
Jalen
Javon Campbell? Is that right?
Yeah,
Walker.
Who could be an edge. I mean, he played linebacker for them, but a lot of people think
and that's something those guys could be something that Al Golden likes, right? My only concern when it comes to linebackers is I do think that there's depth later on. I do think that you can find value in free agency. So I'd be very, like I said, when you look at the pure pass rushers that are on this Bengals roster right now, I think you've got to go out and get a pass rusher. You just have to. Or, and this is where I see value in the edge class. I see value in round 2. I see value in round 3. Guys, like if they do switch off that mold, guys like Josiah Stewart, right, out of Michigan, smaller guy, but he's a guy that can just get after the quarterback, pin his ears back. But I also like, and this is where defensive tackle conversation comes into play, right? It's either Walter Nolan in round 1, or you got guys later. I like Aeneas Peebles. I like Deion Walker. I like, Derek Harmon. These are guys in round 3 that I can say, hey, that guy can rush the passer.
Well, let me ask you this, though, going into the draft there and considering pass rush. When Trey leaves, what does our pass rush look like? What is the deficit that we're trying to fill? And the other part of that is that I've been a Walter Nolan guy all the way up until we found out that, once again, the Bengals were misleading us with signing all of their guys, and Trey's going to be traded. So I've kind of switched from Walter Nolan. Now I have trouble. If I do a mock draft simulator, I usually take James Pierce now instead of Walter Nolan. What do you think about that?
The Trey Hendrickson potential trade adds a lot more for the Bengals. $16 million in cap. When we talk about the draft, and this is how I view it personally, you got to take the best player on the board. If they view Walter Nolan as, and this is like me, I view I'm high on Walter Nolan, but I don't see a superstar pass rusher right off the bat. I don't. And when you look at the Bengals now, if they were to trade Trey, you have potentially a late first, you have a second rounder to go get a Josiah Stewart, to go get a Donovan Ezeraku. You have an extra pick to play around. So I personally, just because they were to trade Trey, maybe it doesn't lock you into draft the pass rusher in pick 17. Maybe you do go out there and sign multiple guys like Azeez Ojulari and sign Baron Browning. Or hell, maybe they say we want to go out and get Josh Sweat. So it depends on how, if they were to trade Trey, how do they attack free agency? Because let's say they go out and get Josh Sweat. Okay, that's the big splash. Then you can wait in round 1. You don't have to force it. You can go out there and get Walter Nolan. Then you have 2 second rounders to play it with. So I went all over the place, but I personally, just because they were to trade Trey, I don't think it forces them to take a pass rusher in round 1.
Yeah. So also, Eamon-Lori, like I thought Starks was the number 1 safety, but Eamon-Lori, I mean, that is a huge winner in that combine.
Yeah.
Which safety, though, between Starks and Eamon-Lori, who fits the Bengals better, in your opinion? Uh-oh.
I think that it'll be Starks. When I first watched Eamon-Lori, I wasn't a huge fan. I think the dude is an athletic freak. I think he's an amazing guy to cover, tight ends. I think he's a guy that can play in the box. He's a guy who can, quote unquote, do it all. when I watch Starks, I think the fact that, like I said, he was a team captain, he was a 5-star recruit. This is a dude who played free safety. He can do that. He can play nickel. For me personally, I think that dude would be a star nickel at the NFL level. That's what I view him as. I think he can play free safety, and I think he would be good. If they were both on the board and I were to say, who do I think the Bengals would take? I think it'd be Starks. Just because, like you said, the pedigree, and that's something they have valued in the past, right? Being from that top tier school and having done it for multiple years consistently. But like I said, also Malachi Starks he's cool. He's good. I think that there's a lot of room to be desired with him. And like I said, I think he steps in day one. Let's say they take him at 17. I think he steps in day one and is the best nickel on the team. But I do think there would be growing pains as a free safety.
I think let's get into more about Trey and the trade request.
Okay.
Yesterday we were kind of thinking, okay, maybe they come back together, but then you start hearing there's tons of teams with interest. And a lot of people think that he will get that over 30 million, whatever he's looking for. We don't know the exact numbers that he's asking and his agent's asking from the Bengals. Paul, I will disagree with this, that he's going to play out his contract. I don't think that's going to be one of the options. He'll either come back and they'll do an extension here for a little less than what he's thinking he's going to get. But most likely it seems like a trade to me as of now. But Daniel, what are your thoughts on that? And what kind of compensation, if there is a trade, do you think the Bengals could be trying to get from another team?
For sure. And let me preface this. I'm not a report. I'm not Malik. I don't have the insight. I'm going based off of my feel, right? I think that when I looked at the recent trades, right, we can go talk about all these guys, the Bradley Chubb trade, the Von Miller trade, all of these trades.
The 30-year-old is the one I looked at a lot, which was Von Miller at the time, and there was another guy that was right at 30. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these guys. That name will come back to me. I know who you're talking about. I think for sure we're talking a second and a third. When we look at a team like the Bears have 2 seconds, and they got 39 and 41. So I think for sure we could be looking at a second and a third. I think that's the base. And I think that that's at minimum, like that's the worst it gets for the
Do
Bears.
you think the third could be the following year? Because that was something we kind of discussed too. A team might not be willing to give up, both of their day 2 picks.
I think it depends on who. If I'm the Bengals and I'm getting a late second, I'm not doing a third. Trey Henderson, and this is where it struggles for me. Trey Henderson's a damn good player. It is going to be a struggle to replace him. So for me, I'd be looking, hey, I want a top 45 pick at minimum. If you're talking a late second, I'm good. So I would definitely be looking, if you're looking like some of these other teams, the Cardinals, the early second, sure. The Patriots, early second, sure. But I would hope that the Bengals are looking into, right, the Commanders, obviously, late first, the Lions, late first. That's something that, we had on the YouTube channel and discussed. That's what you would hope. And I think that that's what would be the best value for Trey. Because like I said, you're losing out on your best pass rusher. And when you look at the rest of these guys and you look at the production that needs to be replaced, it's a lot. So late first is what you'd be gunning for. And I think if you can get one of these teams like the Commanders line to say, hey, we'll give you 28, 29.
29. Yep. That's been the team I've circled for. If there's any way to get a first, it's going to probably be them at 29.
And I'd run to the table. I say that's fine. If Trey comes back and says, hey, they're willing to pay me 33, 32. All right. Like that's what I would do. And I think you should be ecstatic if you can get that late first round pick. Well,
let me ask you this though, as far as Trey Hendrickson goes, I sleep all day. All right. So I'm going to put
night
that
shift.
in there.
Yeah. Night
so
shift.
Whatever happened during the day, if there's a whole bunch of stuff, I haven't had time to catch up yet. But my feeling when I went to bed this morning was that I think that the Bengals are going to I think that they told Trey, here's permission so he could see his value. Cause I think they made him a good offer. He doesn't think it's as good of an offer as it is. And so he's going to test that market. The Bengals I feel like that they think that they're confident that he's not going to be able to meet that or get better on the market. So then he'll come back. Now, I also think that the Bengals are not going to give him away because he's a valuable piece here in Cincinnati. Yes. And I feel like Trey will play if he has to, maybe begrudgingly, but he'll play. And so I'm just wondering your thoughts on that.
on if he will play without.
What's your feeling if he comes back or if he's actually traded, and what kind of compensation are the Bengals looking for to actually get rid of a guy that's the sack leader last year?
Yeah, I at this point I view it as a horse race. I think they trade him or they re-sign him. I really struggle to see how they would just, how it works out with him being on this team without having a new contract. So I think, like I said, if they're not willing or able to get a late first, then you just say, hey, Trey, this is what's gonna happen. Like, we're going to re-sign. And I think that it is going to go one of two ways. I think a team will value him and say, hey, there's teams like I said, the Commanders have a ton of cap space. There's teams that should be willing to throw that money out there. And if a team isn't, then it should be pretty confident, okay, he's going to come back and re-sign with the Bengals. So, like I said, I'd be hard-pressed to see how this doesn't end up with the Bengals getting very solid draft return or Trey being back on the team and getting a contract extension.
Well, now, Daniel, our friend Matt here, this has been thrown out there. Would you trade? We'll say there's someone like Quentin Nelson, 2 years left on his deal, one of the best guards in the league last 10 years, and you could still get like maybe a fifth round, hopefully maybe a third.
That's his fifth. Come on, I want a third. I want Nelson and a third. I'm greedy. I'm greedy here.
Sack leader, man.
We got to be greedy. Would you trade for a player, someone like Quentin Nelson?
Totally. I would. I think that anytime you can get great players, I think you got to do it. And sure, that means maybe you don't get that, extra second round pick. That's fine. But okay, then if you do this, then you don't have to go out there and sign, a Mekhi Becton, Tevin Jenkins for $13 million. Okay, because at that point, you're basically rolling with saying, hey, I got three of arguably the best quote unquote offensive linemen in the league. You'd hope so. Mims, Brown, and Quentin Nelson. So
and Nelson and Brown paired up together on that left side would be phenomenal.
Totally. So at that point, I'd be a huge fan of it because, like I said, you're getting a quality player, and dude, you'd hope will be top 5 at his position. So I'd be totally, entertaining that.
Right.
But would the Bengals, and that's what I don't understand now.
No one signed Dusty. Trey T not signed. We did sign Tanner Hudson today.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Tanner Hudson being the guy like Jackson Kirkland and Tanner Hudson the last 2 days with all the bad news that they're not close on these deals. Trey, they're going to let him seek a trade. Yeah. And then these guys, and it's no fault of them. Like T. Huddy, he played good on special teams, and he's a decent, fight for a roster guy. I still don't think it keeps us out of drafting a tight end per se, with Eric All maybe missing the whole season. But now they have Grandy under contract, Sample. They have him, and they have our guy McLaughlin, and I feel like there's someone else. But
we can still use the phrase "huddy tuddy" this next season a couple times.
Yeah, I drafted Tanner McLaughlin on my dynasty team, and I'm really regretting that right now because I'm not sure the guy ever sees the field.
Well, me and Daniel still have faith. I like the guy where we drafted him, and we're not giving up on him yet. I mean, he is going to be like 26 years old already and hasn't played down in the NFL. Yeah. But that's okay. You can come on and still make an impact.
He's a locker room dad.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, what are your thoughts on a T extension? Do you think this is something that could get done by Monday or on Monday? Because to me, you don't want to really wait too long. You want to have this money accounted for, and it actually free up some cap space compared to the $26 million that was automatically on your books if you keep him on this franchise tag.
Yeah, I definitely think it could. I think at this point, this kind of shows, and I think this Trey Henderson will kind of be the first domino if I were to predict. I think that just looking at it, if Trey is traded, that pretty much signals that they're going to re-sign him. And I think that when you read, what the signs have been, whether it was T changing agents or whether it was Joe Burrow being out, in public talking about, T Higgins, I think that, and this is a conversation, right? I'm pretty confident at this point. It seems like all signs are he's going to be a Bengal. And I think that it would be smart for the Bengals, but it also puts you in a position where you are putting a lot of pressure on your front office to hit on these free agents, to hit on these draft picks. So T. Higgins, I don't necessarily, I wish I could give you a prediction of, he will be signed by Monday. But I think that this Trey Henderson news will tell you a lot about how the Bengals view their team, right? If they're going to trade him away, I think that they're definitely looking, saying, hey, I struggle to see how both Trey and T. Higgins are not on the Bengals next season. I can't personally see that. Maybe they shock me and say, hey, we're going to trade Trey and then we're going to trade T too. But I think that if T is playing this upcoming season, it'd be very, very smart for the Bengals to sign him to a long-term contract.
Well, if they don't sign him to a deal, do you think he'll play on the tag, or you think he sits out?
I think it messes with the locker room. We can all agree with that, right? This will be bad for the locker room if there's not a long-term. Let's say they trade Trey, and then there's no long-term extension for T. By the time camp rolls around, we're going to have a lot of locker room.
Honestly,
that's a lot of bullshit out there.
And I really don't think that you hope, and I'm going to give the Bengals grace. I hope that they're smart enough to see, hey, you got one or two options, really. Like, you're not going to, just let him ride it out on the tag and then lose him to free agency next year. Like, you're going to lose him for what? Like, if you're going to re-sign T. Higgins, you're going to do it now.
Right.
And if not, then okay, bite the bullet and trade him. But don't go into, and this is my opinion, don't go into the season with him playing on the tag, because like we saw at the beginning of this last season, the Jamar Chase thing, it kind of, I'm not going to say contributed, but you look at how Jamar Chase, he wasn't fully confident week one. It was obviously still weighing on him. It's not in this Bengals team's best interest to not re-sign T and to let him play on the tag this upcoming season.
I mean, you take that Jamar drama out of last year. Maybe he practices a little bit more. Maybe we beat New England. Maybe we get into the playoffs.
First off, Paul, I want to answer Paul here. I am not signing up to coach a bunch of 13-year-old girls. I'm just not putting myself through that kind of chaos. No. But I understand what you're saying about, thinking, okay, he's got a contract, he should play on it. I understand that. I just think in this modern NFL and improving the team, if you know that you can't work an extension with Trey, and he played last year in this same situation when he really wanted a contract. So him doing that again a second year, I just don't see it happening. That's all. Like, if I thought it was, I understand your point, and I don't necessarily disagree. You sign a contract, you should honor your contract, but at the same point in time, that's just not how it works in the NFL. These guys are different than you and us as regular Joes working jobs. It's just a fact.
Well, it's the way the NFL works, and so they work the system. You know what I'm saying? That's the way everybody does it in the NFL.
Hey, Travis, that's a good question here.
That's a great question.
We need to get you guys to come to the Project Game Day draft party on April 25th if you're not doing your live show or something.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
only if you want to support disabled folks and military veterans.
Yeah, if you hate those groups of people, then don't go, okay?
If you support those kind of people, then we would love to have you.
But I also want to shout out Travis, who bought 6 tickets today, and we're doing a giveaway on our live show at Midwest next week. With 2 of those, we'll probably do a trivia question. Greg's already been doing trivia questions for some chains that Darth is nominating, so we'll do one for a couple of those tickets that he bought, and we're also doing a giveaway through the Project Game Day account for a couple of those tickets. So thank you, Travis, for your generosity, man. That was phenomenal of you to do that. So I want to say thank you first and foremost. But yeah, Derek, you got a question, because you just been on here looking pretty and not really saying anything.
I don't know about all that. I don't feel pretty. I'm almost done with my coffee. So
yeah, that night shift's kicking. Derek switched to night shift the past couple weeks, and it's kicking his ass, Daniel.
It has been rough.
Why don't you just start thinking about guns and chewing tobacco? You probably cheer right up.
I don't know. I'm just gonna start staying awake and just snorting cocaine or something like that.
Okay. Besides the cocaine, do you have a question for Daniel?
Right. What's on cocaine, Daniel?
I'll say this. Because I haven't. With everything I've been doing, I haven't been able to look at my Dale Altman Project Game Day draft guide as much as I'd like to. But if you had to pick one guy at 17, who would that be?
If I had to pick one guy.
We already talked about this.
Guy. Yeah, right now. Nobody else. Like, you gotta have one guy.
If I were to pick one guy, I'll do process of elimination for you guys right now. And this is just, like I said, this fluid for me. I look at defensive tackle. Kenneth Grant, I think it's too high for him at 17. Lack of the pass rush. Walter Nolan, I think, could be good. I'd prefer one of these edge rushers. I think it really is. I'm penciling in. It's Mike Green or James Pierce Jr. for me. Those are the two guys that I look at, and I say, hey, it's those two guys. If I'm considering Michael Williams, if I'm considering Shamar Stewart, I'm trading back. I think there's a lot of good guys at the back end of round 1. So I would say if they stay at 17, I would personally, and this is if I were the GM, I'd look at this and I'd say, hey, I'd rather go James Pierce Jr., Mike Green here, and then round 2 or round 3. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of these defense tackles in round 2.
I like Darius Alexander. If you get him in a second, I'd be pumped.
I'm a huge fan of him. And I that's where I think that if I'm looking at where's the value, I think that, like I said, Walter Nolan is the one guy that you can say, hey, he's got the physical tools to do it. He did it at the college before. He was at Ole Miss. He did it at Ole Miss.
Stop the run and rush the passer, so you're getting a complete type of player.
He's a complete player, and he's the guy where you can say, hey, if he develops into a beast as a pass rush, he's the Bengals' star on the defensive line.
Yes.
I just view the pass rush. I think I can get that supplemented in round 2, round 3. So if it were me, I would go the value of James Pierce, Mike Green, or like I said, I personally would consider a trade back because I really like the Donovan Ezrakus. I really like Nick Gordon.
Am I crazy to say that I would take Ezerike because it's really been on my mind? He's been in my top 30 for a long time, but he's done nothing to dissuade me from thinking, like, even if it's not a trade down, at pick 17, with some of the questions with guys like Pierce, some of this stuff that floats out there about off-field, Walter Nolan, some of the same stuff, they're rumors right now, so it's hard to really and then Mike Green, obviously the sexual assault thing that he talked about it. So we know that that's at least something that was out there that happened, that he was at least questioned about. Twice.
Yeah. And I think when you talked about Donovan, my only concern, and this is where when we get into the Bengals' mind, all of these guys, Mike Green is a little undersized versus what the Bengals typically like. Donovan Ezraku, a little undersized. Same thing. James Pierce, his weight, a little undersized. I think if the Bengals are going to go the route of potential Donovan Ezraku, I would wait. I would trade back because I can't. For me, if we're going the smaller guys, I value Pierce and Mike Green there. But like I said, if the Bengals are interested in going this route of these pure pass rushers, it is filled in round 1 for them. My concern is that they could fall in love with Michael Williams' size. They could fall in love with Shamar Stewart's size, and that would be the typical Bengals mantra.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I'm going to let myself dream for a minute, though, and I'm going to say, that the Commanders give us that pick 29. An elite combination to me in the first round would be Walter Nolan and Ezerike at pick 29. That would just be chef's kiss for me.
And, totally. And in a perfect world, that's what you end up with. If they end up getting pick number 29, Trey's out the door, and you sign Baron Brown, you sign Azeez Ojulari, Walter Nolan is the pick at 17 then, because then you can pretty much guarantee, all right, the back end of round 1, I'm getting one of these guys. I'm getting scored. I'm getting Ezra. I'm getting one of these guys at the back end of round 1. So that's the beautiful part of this potential Trey Henderson trade news is if you have 2 first-round picks, that is so much to play with.
Yes.
Now, assuming that we get guards in free agency, and I mean,
least one. I think you got to get one at this point.
Yeah, that was going to be my question because how do you feel they're going to address free agency? Do you think they're going to pick up these absolute must needs? Because right now, in my personal opinion, the guard is the top priority for me, ahead of defensive tackle, ahead of edge, ahead of all of these positions.
Yeah, this is the irritating and the tough part about this conversation is this all changes with the Trey Henderson trade. Like, as of right now, I agree, and we talked about this on the show, is interior offensive line right now, they're making it pretty well known. I mean, if you cut Kappa, you're going to sign somebody in free agency, and you're going to sign one of these top tier.
Not named Cody Ford, because he's a depth piece, guys. That should not be a play.
Yeah.
Please.
And that's how I think that they should approach free agency. But like I said, this all changes with the Trey Henderson trade because if you trade Trey, boom, 16 million gets freed up. Now, if they were to trade Trey, I'm very confident, or I would hope that they sign a top tier pass rusher or interior defensive lineman. So if you trade away Trey, now we're talking the Josh Sweats of the world. Now we're talking, the Milton Williams potentially.
How about Khalil Mack? Do you think with the age, he's still been a productive player?
I like Khalil. I like Khalil. I think it depends on how much he wants. I've seen that the Chargers really like him, and the Chargers, he wants to be back in LA, but it just depends on, the money that they'll give him. I like Khalil Mack. I like Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa's likely. He's probably going to go to the 49ers. Like, it makes the most sense.
But do you take the gamble on a guy that's been injured for 3 years?
Yeah, I would, but it also at that point, by me signing a Joey Bosa or me signing Khalil Mack, it doesn't stop me from signing, a Baron Browning, or also doesn't stop me from drafting one in round 1.
No, I agree. We'll get to this question here from Huday G, the South Jersey Bowl. I don't know, man. It's just too cool. It's just too cool for me.
The South Jersey Bowl.
Where do you think Trey goes, and do you think we're going to do this the whole time? So we'll just where do we think he goes? We've talked about the Commanders, the Bears, the Colts. That's just a few teams off the top of my head that could use edge that might work out. Is there any others that pop to your mind, Daniel?
Swap for Myles Garrett, probably.
I think looking at it, the Colts I'm not the biggest fan of the Colts one, just from the pure sense that I like what they would, you get Trey and you pair him with Latu. And I think they're definitely off of Dio. Not even try to pronounce his name. But I just don't know if that's the smartest move for the Colts, right? What are they going to trade? And I don't know.
Who is there? That's a big part of it.
No, completely. And that's why I think the former coaches, I do think the Bears are a likely option, right? Dennis Allen, obviously. The connection as well. The Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell was there with them in New Orleans. I don't necessarily, I think Dan wasn't necessarily coaching the defense, but he's still there regardless.
Right.
So those are the teams, and like I said, those are the teams that match up with compensation wise. Bears, they got 2 second-round picks. I'm in. Lions, late first. I'm in. Commanders are the team. Like I said, they're making the push. Like they're going to make the push. And I think when you look at these other teams like the Patriots, sure, I just don't know if they're going to prioritize that, and are they willing to give up an early second? That, in my opinion, I wouldn't if I'm the Patriots. I'm not there yet. Same thing with the Cardinals. Like, I'm not giving up my second round pick. I just don't know if the compensation lines up. So if I were to guess, I think the top 2 teams are probably, I think it's a Commanders and a Chicago Bears sweepstake, just based off the pure value that I'd be willing to accept. I take a Bears second and their 3rd round pick next year. Like, that's fine. Whatever.
How about the Falcons? Because they've been linked as a team with interest too, and we didn't mention that.
Jesse Bates. Let's get Jesse Bates back.
Exactly. I mean, the Falcons, but what are we getting in return for the Bengals? Like what, their pick 48, 47, something like that. I don't know. I understand it there. I just also look at the Falcons, like, are they going to be willing to shell out the money for Trey Hendrickson? Maybe. I just think that if I'm considering options, I think the Falcons definitely have to be an option. Obviously, they were rumored, but those other teams, in my opinion, are precedent over the Atlanta Falcons. Because the Falcons also have something else they got to figure out. They got to figure out their damn quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Like, he's taking up a lot of cap. He's the priority, in my opinion.
He's cut, right? He's got to be
cut, or I think that he could be traded to a team like the Browns or the Raiders, but he's not going to play for the Falcons this season. There's no shot. 37, he needs to be a starter somewhere.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just, when you were talking about Trey going places, like the moment you said Detroit, I was like imagining that defense with Trey on one side, the Michigan kid from on the other side. Like,
oh, you even said Michigan, Derek.
Whoa!
You didn't say the team up north.
Wow, that's a clip it. Bill, you're right. The Falcons do only have 4 picks, but I think that they might be willing to give up a second to get a Trey Hendrickson, and
they have
a next year 3rd or something. That might be one of those teams where you're getting 1 pick this year, 1 the next.
Well, also interests me with the Falcons is maybe a player like Kyle Pitts with a future pick.
That's the so Kyle Pitts. I'm gonna still need their second. personally.
For sure. No, it would be the second and Kyle Pitts.
That would entertain me. That would entertain me. I think still it's at the bottom tier, but that's what I would entertain because you get Kyle Pitts and you get the second, but still that's also like I'm still prioritizing the other because I also like Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I think is fantastic, but I think in the Bengals tight end position it's simple for me. You got, Drew Sample still there. You re-sign Mike Gesicki, you're fine. So
if they re-sign Gesicki, I don't see them honestly even drafting one if they re-sign Gesicki after signing T. Huddy, having McLaughlin. Right. That was the other one I was trying to think of earlier was if they re-sign Gesicki because T. Huddy back, McLaughlin, Cam Grandy, who they seem to like, and Drew Sample. That's five deep, and four of them probably make the roster.
Yeah, it no longer becomes it's no longer a need. So they can once again, be it good or bad, they can value the tight ends how they value them, and end up wanting them around later than when they go probably.
And you can also spend instead of taking that third rounder on Helm, you can take that on a running back. You can take that on defensive lineman. That's a
deep running back class.
There's like 27 running backs. I think Dale was talking about that could go. Like,
I've got 28 on my draft board, and honestly, there's probably a couple more that could get drafted. And 30 has been drafted before. It wouldn't be impressive.
Hey, there's some talks that they put the over under at 30, and some media guys are taking the over.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but because 30 I think is the most that's ever went 1 year. But it's a great class. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, no, and I don't know if you guys wanted to touch on the running back class. Like, I'm a big fan.
Well, you already talked to Ashton Genty, so I want to get off of that first round. And I love him. He's number 4 on my board, so I understand it. It's kind of the Brock Bowers from last year, who was, I think, number 4 on my board overall. And it's like, had he fell to the Bengals, I mean, obviously we'd be like, hell yeah, we got Brock Bowers, and look how great he was this past season. So I get that argument for Genty. I do. But the Bengals are most likely, in the way they've talked, to get a bigger back to complement Chase Brown. So with that in mind and talking running backs, I like a guy like Damian Martinez, Ataj Brooks later on.
That's my guy.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. And I think –
who do you like for running backs? And, probably day 3.
Day 3, I like a lot of these guys. And let me just say, like I said, the value, like if they don't go, and this is how I would operate. If they don't go defensive line, I think you have to consider Ashton Genty. And that's just me when I look at the value. But when I look at these other guys, I think I'm personally a big fan of TreVeyon Henderson. He would be round 2. He'd be a round 2 pick. I'm a big fan of him. I think he does everything you need. And I think that he is a guy where he comes in, he's able to pass block. And it was interesting hearing, Duke and what Zach were saying about, we want a bigger guy, but we also want how they view Chase as the early down back at times. And it's like, okay, well, if, they said, oh, well, we've seen Chase as the first down, second down back, and we need somebody who else can supplement in the pass game. That's what I believe it was Duke Tobin or Zach Taylor. One of them said that. And I was like, oh, well, I personally always viewed it as you needed the opposite. Like Chase Brown could be that second, third down back. But there's a lot of these guys, like I said, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Damian Martinez. If we're talking the bigger backs, he is the big back who can do it. And he's
ran a 4.51, which was a great time for him at his size.
Yeah.
Completely. And I think, like I said, another guy, I'm surprised you said Taj Brooks. I'm a fan of him. He's more on, I don't know what his height was, but 5'10", I believe. He's big, bulky.
He's a bowling ball is what I call him.
He is a bowling ball. I've been a huge fan of Kyle Manun guy, but also like it's more of a smaller running back. How does he complement Chase Brown? But these are the running backs.
He runs hard though.
He's a beast, and he's somebody. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of him. So
Kalel Mullings from Michigan, former linebacker, he's got the size. Phil Maffa from Clemson.
The only issue
is taking a hit. There's a bunch of big guys.
Totally, and that's where I think the issue. And the hard part is there's these guys early on, like round 2, round 3, Caleb Johns. I'm a huge fan of. Like these guys early on, Cam Scatterbo, I think would be a stud.
Yeah. 4th round. If he's there in the 4th, that's one we've mocked here.
Well, if he's there in round 3,
let me ask this though about Scatterbo, because I wonder if people place too much value on it because of the Senior Bowl. How do you think he complements Chase Brown?
He can do it all. This is a dude where I think, like I said, with what the Bengals wanted, they wanted him, they want somebody to compliment him in the pass game, quote unquote. I think this is a dude, go watch his game. I believe it was against Texas when it ran a wheel route and went up
He's an
and got
excellent
the ball.
receiver. I don't know how he is as a blocker.
That's what my question is.
He's a phenomenal receiver. And this is a dude where what I want in a running back, and I kind of shifted my mentality, talking on the show with Malik, Logan, and the guys, like, it always was for me. Typically, I love a 2 running back duo. I grew up watching, the Saints, Sean Payton. I love having the Lightning and the Thunder. That may not be the Bengals. They may not care to have a 6'1" guy who can do it. They showed late in the season Chase Brown could do it on the goal line. So
exactly,
maybe that's not what they want. I personally, that's how I've always, quote unquote, like growing up watching the Patriots, LeGarrette Blount, Jonas Gray. These are the guys that I love. I want a bruiser. Maybe that's not what the Bengals want. And if that's not what they want, a Cam Scatterbo in round 3, I think would be fantastic. But it also depends.
If we get an extra second-round pick or the bottom of the first, maybe it opens up for one of these day 2 running backs, whether it is Scatterbo or you mentioned Caleb Johnson from Iowa, who's also a big guy who had a great season for them. Yes. Another guy who tested way better than I expected, and I'm a Buckeye fan, Quinshon Judkins, who's 221. Tested phenomenal. So I'm just saying, maybe in the second round, you get a guy like that, because injuries happen to running backs a lot too.
Yeah.
You also, if you take one of those guys, you feel good about the fact that they could give you 20 carries in a game if Chase Brown's out easily.
Totally. And that's what I think it's going to be hard, because I'm a huge sucker for trenches now. Like I wasn't before, but I'm a huge sucker for it.
Same.
That's the difficult part about this, the roster construction part. Like, I would love, and I do think it would, benefit the Bengals to employ the run game more. Look at the Super Bowl, right? They were 5th in total rush attempts, but this past season they were 10th in total rush attempts. This past season they were 3rd to last. So it's like, I think it would benefit them to get more, a running back duo that can kill the clock at the end of the game. So I'm definitely, like I said, I'm a huge fan of getting these guys, but it has to be at the right price. If it's not Scatterbo or Travion Henderson in round 2 or 3, you probably wait till day 3.
This is a good one because he got released today. Is Harold Landry from the Titans. Now sack numbers look great for his career, but then I seen, like, I think it was Joe Goodberry or somebody else, and then Joe retweeted it. So sorry, I don't remember who that was that had the pass rush win rate or whatever for him, and that wasn't great. So I don't know, because like on the surface I'm like, Harold Landry, sign me up, but then seeing that I'm like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Harold Landry?
Yeah, he's fine. I'll go back and rewatch some film. I was really a fan of the other guy, I believe Arden Key. I might be butchering it. No,
that's it from LSU.
Their other edge rusher, and he was a guy who was available in free agency. So, or he was available for trade. Harold Landry's fine. Like you said, I think that he's of the same tier of Baron Browning. He's of the same tier of Azeez Ojulari. He's of the same tier of these mid-level guys. So it's like, I would pick up one of these guys for sure. Like I want a pass rush specialist to come in, 30% of the time. But at the same time, Harold Landry played a lot of snaps for them. So like I said, he was actually a better run defender, I believe, than a pass rusher, and it was weird, but they got also 2 guys on the interior, T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. So Landry, he's cool. He's cool.
Yeah, he's a guy. I don't know. And it all comes down to money at the end of the day. And what are you looking for? Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But let's call our shots on some free agents, and we'll go around the horn. So we'll go Daniel and then Greg and Chop and Derek, and then I'll chime in every now and again. But let's start at safety. If we take a safety, for me personally, because we've gone through a lot of these positions on the show, Javon Holland's going to get too much money. Guys like that, top of the market. I honestly think they're more likely to go draft. So this one we can kind of go through quick. I don't necessarily see it, but I'll give one name that I mentioned when we did the show, and that's Ashton Davis, because I think he could be a number 3, 28 years old from the Jets. He only started 1 game last year, but had 35 tackles, 2 interceptions, and projected to get low money. Like, you get a veteran, you get a guy that could start. Maybe if Al Golden wants to run his defense and you're playing 3 safeties, he plays quite a bit. Yeah. So that's my name. And then Daniel, do you got anybody at safety? And you can say nobody. I don't think.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, there's a lot of these guys I've liked. Like, I've liked Andre Sisco. I think he's going to get a lot of money. If I were to say a name that I'm a fan of, I believe he was a free agent last year, so it may not make a lot of sense, but Julian Blackmon for the Colts. With what I'm looking for, I believe,
26 years old, projected 3 years, 21 million from Pro Football.
Yeah, okay.
PFF.
And that's like, for me, I don't know if I would pay that, but like, hey, if you're going to upgrade the safety position in free agency, that means Geno Stone's going to be gone.
Right.
And that also means I want a dude who's a deep safety. And I believe they tried out Blackmon in the box. He was cool. He's whatever, but his
coverage grade was 73.5, which is amazing. Yes. So if you want that.
Yes. And he is a deep safety. He is your free safety. He is your guy at the back line. That's where I view him. And that's what, even coming out of college, I believe out of Utah. And he was just like I said, coverage safety. And I want a dude who's, you got the sideline speed. So if there's safety, it's Julian Blackmon. But
86 tackles, 3 interceptions, and a half sack. That's phenomenal stats. And honestly, $7 million a year if you got him. And these are projections. People get more, they'll get less. Things happen, but yeah, that would be one way to move on. Greg, you got anybody as safety?
Not really, and all that. I mean, all
right, you just say nobody and you move on.
No, but I'm going to move on. No,
all right, Chop.
I have a preference. No Justin Reed. Like his history with the Bengals, I don't want that fucker in our locker room.
Good player. Yeah. He was a very good player.
As far as
he's going to get a big contract.
Free agent safeties. I mean, I guess I'm okay if they bring one in, but I'm not really interested. I've been Xavier Watts at 49 guy since they hired Al Golden to be our defensive coordinator. The way he's talked about the safety position when they interview him, he literally, almost like if you try to read the tea leaves, it sounds like he's like, I need a safety that can be my field general, that has the same thoughts that I have on the sideline. He executes them on the field. And he says, just like I had at Notre Dame. Who was that guy at Notre Dame? So I've already penciled in Xavier Watts.
So your answer is no one.
No one. There you go.
Free agency. All right.
I'm on the same page as you, Chop. Yeah.
Especially not Justin Reed, though.
I'll make it real quick too. Nobody, because they're not like, they've shown, in my opinion, to me what they're going to do in free agency. They let Kappa go. They haven't re-signed BJ Hill. They haven't, like, all of these. Trey Hendrickson requesting a trade. They're allowing.
We don't know what's happening with Pratt still either, but we'll get to the linebacker.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep Stone. I really do.
Yeah, and I could see it, or I could see what Chop said. If you get a guy in the draft, then you release. Release him now when he's a starter? Because you don't have to do it now. That's not a pressing one. So we'll move to corner next. I don't know if they'll take a corner. I don't know if they're interested in a corner draft or not. But as Greg always talks about, you can never have enough corners. For me, I'll say Kendall Fuller because they were interested in him last year. He's 30 years old. Had a 62.4 coverage grade last year. So still decent, but he's had better seasons in his career. The Dolphins released him. I don't have a contract projection for him where he is getting released or was released. So that's my guy, or Christian Fulton. I guess I'll toss the second one in. But Daniel, you got anybody at cornerback or nobody?
I like Christian Fulton. Cornerback, like I said, I don't know how likely this is with a new DC. I've been a massive fan of Jack Jones. And like I said, I've seen he is somebody you'd be betting on with personality questions, I will say, as questions at college, as questions with the Patriots, as a question with the Raiders. But when we're talking a pure player, this is a dude this past year, he gambled a lot, when it comes to going for the big plays. But if we're talking about one of the best, man-to-man guys, a guy who has anticipation, dude who just makes big plays, Jack Jones is the guy, a little undersized, 5'10", but like I said, go Cincinnati Bengals, I believe it was this year. It's pick 6, right? Read Joe Burrow's eyes, quick screen. That is what he can provide for you.
Oh, if he did good against the Bengals, he's high on their list.
Yes, and he was, like I said, he gambles a lot. So that is the issue. There are times where he gambles a lot, but I feel like if there's a guy, I'm curious to kind of see where he ends up, because he's one of the guys where, like I said, one of the best talents I've seen at the cornerback position, just his instincts. But I don't know how likely it is for the Bengals, but Jack Jones is a name that a lot of people should know.
Yeah, because I don't even think we talked about him on our corner show, so I love that, and I'm going to go look into him more. Greg, you got one for you?
Yeah, no, Christian Fulton, the Bengals tried to get him last year. Hey, let's add another LSU guy. Team him up with Jamar Chase in practice again. I mean, that would be another one. One guy I really pounded my fist on the table for was Stephon Gilmore. Let's go get Gilmore. Because also with Dax Hill, you don't know if he's going to be 100% healthy.
And he might move to slot corner.
He's going to move to slot corner. And look, I like DJ Turner. I like Ivy. I like Newton. They did a great job. But I'm just saying, it's always good to have insurance, right?
Facts.
Yeah,
Chop?
I just like a veteran presence. I think that we're good on corner. I think we might take another one, but a veteran presence Stephon Gilmore is one I was going to say, but if I'm going to throw another one in, isn't Patrick Peterson? He's a veteran and he can give us a little push in the return game too if we need him.
Is he still playing? Honestly,
he played last year. No, I thought he played last year for Pittsburgh, right?
No, year before he did.
Well, son of a bitch, not him.
All right, Derek, you got a guy that's not podcasting and
I'm back to Gilmore.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the guys. I'm a Dax Hill truther, man.
I know.
I always will be.
We know.
Well, but and I'll add to you, Derek. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Dax Hill's good, and it depends on how he comes back. And I don't know where they're gonna put them. He was the best corner on the Bengals last year, and I think he was ready for a very big year. So whether he's in the slot or the outside, if that dude puts his head to the grindstone and works his ass off this offseason, he was good at corner. He was good. But
go ahead, Derek.
No, I was going to say but it worries you because we got all these guys coming back from injury, and you can't bet on that. So getting a guy like I was just looking at I don't know if Nate Hobbs if he's still any good or not, but
I think he had a good season and he's a young guy for the Raiders. Yeah,
somebody like him maybe just to add to the group. I don't necessarily know that I want the older veteran guy because it's just get a guy in there to compete with him. Or if they're not healthy,
I like the idea of a veteran on the practice squad, like I liked last year, because you see him like an Eli Apple, and I'm not. It doesn't have to be Eli Apple, but maybe it is, and you bring them in, and it's a guy. As soon as the injury happens, boom, he's up, and injuries happen at corner a lot.
And one last thing I'll say on corner, and this is something I'm kind of curious on, is I'm kind of curious to see where Benjamin Morrison falls in the draft. Obviously, got hurt. Didn't test.
Hip scares the hell out of me, but he was a first round talent.
And I do think, with all these dudes, Maxwell Harrison coming up, I think there's a good chance he could slide to 45. I think there's a chance, and at that point, you have to have that conversation, right? Whether it's Watts or Morrison. Morrison was a dude locked up Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got the physical size. Heard a lot of good things about him at high school. Just a quality role player, and he's got the Al Golden connection. So. Hip injury is definitely concerning, but he's a guy I wouldn't be shocked if he's there at 45. Or if he's there at 40, you have the conversation. I'll give up a 6-round pick and I'll trade up and get him.
Daniel, we still got some time because we're almost an hour in, so I don't want to overtake your time here.
No, you're good.
Okay, because I got 3 more positions here to call our shots in free agency that I'd like to get through.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So I don't have linebacker in front of me on my notes, but we did do a show. We just popped up the PFF list. It was the day that Pratt requested the trade. Yeah. So this is kind of be a 2-parter for everybody. Do we think Pratt will get traded or released? And then also, if he is or isn't, who would be a linebacker? For me, I like Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
Coming off an injury, but his projection was like 1 year, $6-7 million. And I was like, boom. But then it was like, oh, he's unlikely to go back to the 49ers because he's looking for a multi-year deal. I don't know if the Bengals give him that. Jamie Sherwood was one of the youngest guys we've seen on that list. But I seen something that he could get $15-20 million a year. We know the Bengals isn't playing in that ballpark. Well, these are like, hey, who could stand to benefit from a weaker free agency class? Yeah. So I'll toss it to you. Greenlaw's still kind of my guy. One of our other guys was the guy that re-signed with the Commander, Bobby Wagner. Longtime Seahawk, just re-signed, so he's off the list. Do you have a linebacker, and do you think Pratt is traded, released? What happens with Pratt, and then do we sign one? And who?
Yeah, I think at this point, I don't see him being on this team next year. I don't, and whether that's trade or release, I think. And this is when it comes to this time of the offseason, a lot of times we saw with Joe Mixon, it's a 7th round pick. So it's like you're either getting a 6th, 7th, maybe. and just a little something. So Pratt, I don't like I said, linebacker is a major need, like especially with how Al Golden runs 2 linebacker.
Davis Gaither, another free agent.
Yeah. So if I like Dre Greenlaw, obviously Malik's brought him up. Evan on the show brought him up. I think it's really Dre Greenlaw or the rest of these guys. They're just not enticing. Like I've always liked Eric Kendricks. He's just old, like 33. Yeah. So like, am I going to rely on him to be the starter? So I think they probably go after a guy like a Dre Greenlaw. Or if they go after a veteran like Eric Kendricks, then priority is you're drafting one in the first 3 rounds. You're drafting a guy like Jack Kaiser. You're drafting one of my personal favorites and a guy I'm a little concerned on this guy's ability to be a pure cover linebacker, but this is a guy, if you guys haven't watched him, I'm sure you guys have, but UCLA's linebacker Carson Sweat.
Oh, dude, he's my number 2 behind Campbell. He was amazing this year. He has the best tape. I think the best tape of anyone I watched this season.
He is a beast. The only concern I have with him, and which is why when we're having this linebacker conversation, there's a chance they could entertain this in round 1 for a Campbell or a Jalen Walker, but Carson, the only issue, and I'm a little concerned on how the Bengals would review this, but he played 1 season. And when you watch him, he is very raw at the position. But like I said, there's times where he's biting on read options. You know, he's in the wrong place. But when he is downhill and attacking the run game, this dude is just able to have an amazing run fit. He's able to work his way through, blockers. So I know I went a little long-winded.
No, because we haven't talked about Schlesinger as much as I'd like because I loved his tape.
Linebacker is a position where I don't think you head into the draft without replacing Jermaine Pratt, whether it's Dre Greenlaw or whether it's a veteran. You have to add somebody in this free agency class.
Yeah. It might be somebody we're not even thinking of, but Greg, we'll go to you. Toss that one around. I will be right back. I got to check on my dog.
Yeah.
But then I'm going into D tackle next if you guys get through this before I come back.
Okay. Yeah, Pratt's just, you can't have that in the locker room. Pratt clearly wants to get out of here. So he's gone. Kinlaw, like I was ready to say Kinlaw, but like he's looking for a multi-year deal. So, Kaiser, that's it. Along with Xavier Watts, Kaiser, Al Golden, one of Al Golden's players. That would not surprise me at all if Kaiser is a Bengal at all one bit. So if I had to no free agent, but Kaiser I could totally see becoming a Bengal.
And you're also at that point, you have to sign somebody in free agency. Kaiser can't step in day 1 and be like because it's the draft, it's a crapshoot. You can't head into the draft saying we're going to. So yeah, I agree.
You're right. Yeah, I don't know any other free agent linebackers, so it's probably going to be a surprise.
Yeah, I did a mock draft last night where I got Watson the second, and I still got Kaiser after that. So where do you think Kaiser's going to go, Daniel?
I think if you're, especially if the Notre Dame connection, these are the type of guys where I feel like you have to go up and get them. I think if you're going to want Kaiser, you're going to have to take him probably like round 3. And if he falls to round 4, then great. But if they really want Kaiser, I think it would be a round 3. But if not, then all right. Like I also am not of the camp of reaching for a guy just because you coach them. So the guy like Kaiser, like I like him, but it's like, I think you probably pass on him until round 4.
As far as free agency goes, they signed my guy, Bobby Wagner. I was hoping to get him on a 1-year deal because he's older. I know the Bengals don't like these older guys, but I'm hoping this guy's been productive every year, and maybe we get him on a 1-year deal to help us make the push. But that ship sailed apparently today. So, Greenlaw looks nice. Or did Philly re-sign Zach Bond yet?
Yep.
Greenlaw or draft.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I'm with you. I think it's just when you look at it, it's not like I'm not signing an older guy. They want to get fast. They want to get new. So it's like you just got to hope that you go out there and shell out some money for a guy like Dre Greenlaw.
Right. We are in desperate need of some linebacker help, though.
Yeah.
All right. Did we all give our predictions on linebacker?
Derek.
Linebacker?
Yep.
I'll just throw one out. I don't know. Ernest Jones.
There you go. That's the name. He might get a contract too. So
yeah.
On the D tackle.
Well, watch that one happen because Derek's just like,
right.
And then that one happens. So
yeah.
We'll move on to D tackle, which is obviously a pressing need. BJ Hill is on the list of potential people you could re-sign, but I don't know. It just seems unlikely for whatever reason to me at this point. That's just me. I have no information. Milton Williams, obviously the big name everybody would love to have, but I just think he's going to get paid and the guaranteed money is going to be more than what the bank. So I'm not going to predict him. A guy with the projection, especially from PFF, 2 years, $60.5 million total. He probably gets more than that in this market, especially with Osa Odigizua signing 4 years, 80. Even though he was worth that with the Cowboys, I still think there's not that many D tackles. So I'm going to say Levi Onwuzurike, 67 pass rush grade, 64 run defense, 3 sacks. He's basically BJ Hill, but he's getting ready to turn 27. So just a guy I think the Bengals will like. So that's going to be my bold prediction, is that the Bengals sign him at D tackle. Daniel?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that I want to watch a little bit more on. I've definitely seen him, but he's a guy I'm curious to see, does his film add up to the price tag? And like I said, I think the only conversation we have with him or with the Milton Williams, specifically Milton, is if Trey's gone. If we're looking at the next group of guys, there's a couple guys like obviously Jonathan Allen released today. You'd have to entertain that. Tyre Tart was brought in from the Titans last offseason. I really like him. I think he balled out. If just simply go turn on the tape of the Chargers versus the Texans game in the playoffs, this is a dude who made C.J. Stroud's life a living hell, and that's what I want as a pass rusher. Pair me up. Give me somebody to pair up with Chris Jenkins. So Tyre Tart is a guy. He's not going to make a lot. $5 million, maybe. He's projected like 3.5, but 5, maybe 5.5. And then my favorite one's Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell is the guy.
Favorite of ours too. I was going to mention him, Poona Ford, who Chris mentioned, and also Tershawn Wharton from the Chiefs. Those 3.
And Tershawn Wharton is one where he's been productive and he's got the experience of playing in the big game. So I definitely like him as well.
There's some options I feel like at D tackle. They're all a little different, but even some of the older veterans, some of the money seems like it might work there. Greg?
Mm-hmm. Now that we're trading Trey, you've got to go get Milton Williams. I would go all in on Milton Williams. I wanted him coming out of the draft. Now, I know the debate's going to be, was he only good because he was in a great rotation in Philadelphia? But you saw him in that Super Bowl, man. He was just tearing it up. I want to go all in on Milton.
I think he's going to get so much money, though.
I'll give him so much money.
So much like what?
I think he could get 25 per year, and the guaranteed money is going to be a ridiculous amount. That's
less than the rumor for Trey, though. So we're still saving money.
But two totally different positions.
Sure.
Right.
Plus, the Eagles' defensive line is so loaded. Sorry, Greg. Go ahead.
Right. Daniel, I know this seems it's like not going to happen, but instead of paying Trey $31 million, why not go out and get Milton Williams and pay him $25 million, right?
Man.
Greg was counting on you to back him.
I was counting on you,
No, it's an interesting conversation. Milton Williams, for me, I like him. And I do think if Trey's gone, I do think you have to take a swing at one of these, Josh Sweats or Milton Williams. For me, and I do think the positional value is so important.
Yes.
Of what Milton Williams can be. The only problem is it is a gamble. And for me, if I were in their shoes, the gamble I would personally take is I would gamble on Trey Hendrickson being able to perform at 31, 32, and 33 years old versus what Milton Williams changing from the team. But hey, this could be something similar to what we saw with Trey Hendrickson. Trey was the same conversation, right? It was, New Orleans Saints. It's because Cam Jordan. It's because of them. So Milton Williams, let's see how the Trey situation pans out. And Milton he's a beast. I got to see how everything else shakes out. I personally value these lower level guys. But I will say, Milton Williams, if you do that, it saves
it's
you
exciting.
from
It's exciting.
And it saves you from banking on Walter Nolan developing, and saves you on banking on Kenneth Grant developing, because those are guys where you're like, okay, well, do they have the pass rush? Versus Milton Williams, we've seen the pass rush. Now, does it translate to the Bengals?
Yeah, I think that my opinion is the same as everybody's already said on here. I like Milton Williams, and I've liked Calais Campbell for the last couple years when he's been like last year at the trade deadline. We were all on here like fucking pounding the table like Calais Campbell. Come on,
go
add us
get
a
it.
piece.
Yeah, go get
him. Make a trade. Let's go.
But the Dolphins, at the end of the day, didn't give him up because he would have been a Raven, and we don't do trade deadline very well for some reason. Derek, you're going to say Puna Ford, aren't you?
I love me some Puna. That's exactly who I was going to say, Dale. We finish each other's sandwiches. You know that.
We do. Travis asked Jonathan Allen's projected cost. I have no idea what he's looking for on the open market, and I feel like he was injured a lot last year.
But I will say with him,
good player.
In the previous 6 seasons, I think that dude missed 2 games. So this was the first year, and obviously defensive linemen can kind of fall off a cliff. But he would be in a position. I'm confident saying, hey, just come play for contender, make a little less money, and see where that goes. But
does he have some Ohio connection? I feel like he was the guy for a long time that was talked about as a trade candidate for some Ohio connection reason. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I don't know. It's something to look into.
I think he's from New York, but I can check.
But either way, so I don't, Travis. I wish I could answer that. I have no idea what he will command on the open market. But I would probably in this class slot him in behind Milton Williams as the second best one right now. Just would be my guess.
Yeah.
We'll move on to edge players, which is now an even bigger need.
Yeah.
Suddenly.
So there's Chase Young, Khalil Mack, Reddick, Malcolm Kuntz, Josh Sweat, who we've talked about, Baron Browning, Dayu Adeyingbo. I tried it. It's probably wrong. Michael Hoke, Aziz Ojulari. There's names. No one is going to replace Trey in a vacuum. You're going to need one of these guys and a draft pick to hope to get a better overall defensive line with a defensive tackle. For me, if I'm just shooting my shot on who they get, this is tough. This is tough. I'm going to start with Joseph Osai. I think we find a way to bring him back. And I know it's Mulligetta and he's young, but we bring him back, and then we also sign. I'll just say Baron Browning, but he's the undersized guy, 76 pass rush grade from PFF. He's only 26, projected to PFF 1 year, $6 million, 2 sacks last year, 11 career sacks. He's a little bit of a hybrid linebacker DN. I don't know. Maybe you take the shot there, and you're going to have to go in the draft with an edge. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple guys that I'd be interested in, and I think when you look at Joseph Osai's the guy. Honestly, I think you kick him inside. I've seen he can play both, but he was the guy when I watched his film this year. I saw he had a lot of success on the inside. Same with Miles Murphy. I think Miles Murphy, kick him inside, but I would like Joseph Osai back. I think he was good when you look at him. Even I went back and rewatched the Bengals against, obviously, the Chiefs. Obviously, don't want to talk about this game. It's a championship. He balled out. And
he was dominant.
He was on the interior. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that people forget. They slot him in, right up the B gap, right up the A gap, and he was cooking the Chiefs' offensive line. So when I look at this class, it depends on what they do with Trey. But I think Josh Sweat is a guy, and I'm pissed he had a good Super Bowl. But Josh Sweat is the flashy guy that you would make, right? He's 28 years old or so. But he's the flashy guy you would sign.
Getting ready to turn 28. The projection for PFF is 3 years, $54 million. That's not crazy when you're talking about trade.
He'll get more. He'll get more.
Yeah, right.
And when I look at the rest of these guys, I do think that the value is Baron Browning. I think that that's where go get one of these guys. But Chase Young, man, if there's 2 schools of thoughts, and I'm sorry I'm going all over the place.
No.
If the Bengals get rid of Trey Hendrickson, I think that they would go add one guy who can just be your standard edge rusher, 6'4", 6'5", big guy that we know has got some pass rush chops, but
not
also
even 20. He's getting ready to turn 26. Like he's young.
Oh my
and
gosh.
he's been on the 49ers. He's been on the Saints. And the number one thing is that dude is he's just a strong dude. So I would sign him. Like, I'm not just signing Baron Browning. Baron Browning's pass rush specialist. And I love Baron Browning. I think Baron Browning balled out with the Broncos.
Yep.
If he doesn't re-sign with the Cardinals, if I'm the Bengals GM, if I'm that brass, I'm calling Baron Browning's people up ASAP and saying, hey, Trey's going to be gone. Or let's say, okay, Trey's gone at this point.
Yeah.
And we want you to come in and play 50% of the snaps. You can pin your ears back and be our best pass rusher. Boom.
Yeah.
Derek, Baron Browning and Chase Young both went to Ohio State.
Ohio State. Oh, I know, baby. I know.
Hey, Daniel, remember when everybody wanted Chase Young over Joe Burrow? Now we can make everybody happy.
No, not everybody. There was just morons that wanted that.
A majority.
I was one of them to start.
Yeah, like I said, a couple morons.
Are you serious? I'm just finding.
I'm an Ohio State guy through and through. Okay, let me say this. I like the thought of getting Chase Young in the first and getting the guy for the Eagles, getting him in the second.
Hurts.
I like that idea.
The guy just won a Super Bowl, so I can't.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, what did you say? Wait.
He wanted Chase Young in the first round.
First and Jalen Hurts in the second.
You're saying in the draft.
Yeah,
that year.
But trust me, I love me some Burrow. But that was
Jalen Hurts, and that's the one thing I will say from being around him at the Super Bowl. He gets a lot of flack, and rightfully so. He's not the most talented quarterback, but nobody can take away the leader that guy is, and nobody can take away the work ethic that guy has, and he has the chops to be a franchise quarterback, and he showed. So I'm with you, Jalen Hurts, and he always had some arm talent. So, and one thing I'll also say just while I'm on here, I believe Shedeur Sanders is going to be a very good pro. And I know this is out there.
Okay, no.
From being at the NFL Combine, I'm a believer, especially after seeing what Jalen Hurts has done with that team. I'm a believer in confidence. I'm a believer in leadership. I'm a believer in hard work. And I think that dude, people will call him arrogant from the people around them. And this is from what I've seen. People who call somebody arrogant is somebody who typically feels inferior because a person is confident. That's what I feel. And sure, he could be arrogant. Tom Brady was arrogant. Peyton Manning was arrogant. Like, you have to have a certain air about you as a quarterback for people to follow you. And I know I'm going all over the place, but
it's confidence, right?
It's swag.
Yes, and he is one of the guys where if he lands in the right situation, I think he will be one of those guys that ends up being a 10-year, 15-year NFL vet at quarterback.
Greg, you got an edge player that you're circling right now for free. Call your shot, baby. Call your shot for an edge player we're going to sign.
Daniel, I'm on the Chase Young train. I'm really now getting sold on Chase Young, man. I would like to. I mean, like you said, only 26 years old. Bengals like to stay young at that position. And Chase Young, like he's bounced around. Let's see what we can do with him here on a prove-it deal to see. And Joe Burrow and him, I think, have a connection also. So
I'd give him at least 2, honestly.
All right, 2 years. Yeah. Oh, there you go then.
Bring back the Predator.
Let's do it.
He
Give
ain't
me
been
Chase
Predator
Young.
much.
That'd be a good t-shirt too, Chop.
Yeah. I wouldn't be against Chase Young. I still want Khalil Mack on a 1 year. I don't, because he has said, I know that Daniel, you said he wants to stay in LA, but I thought he also said like
they want him. I don't think it was that, he wants to stay there as much.
They want him.
Oh, well, he said he basically didn't he come out and say like I've made my money. The one thing I'm missing is a ring, and I really want to chase that ring. So Cincinnati sounds like a nice landing spot for him. I thought it sounded a lot better when Trey Hendrickson was lining up on the other side, but still, here we are. So,
he'll be 34. I'll say that. Pass rush grade this year. This is just, I know not everybody believes in PFF, but just tossing out some numbers. 79.9 pass rush grade, 88 run defense. So PFF wise, he was one of the best edges still at his age this past season. And he had 6 sacks. And for his career, he has over 107.
Yes.
So, I mean, he's been very productive, very dominant. You do wonder when that cliff goes. And the projection is 2 years, 45. That's a lot of money to give a guy. You know, if it is a one,
that's a lot less than Trey.
Yeah, but it's
Half.
like, what if he just falls off a cliff or he's injured? That's a concern. But I do like Mac is a very interesting one to me.
Yep.
And Derek, you just going with I'm a Buckeye homer.
Just pick. We already talked about Chase Young.
Aaron Browning or Chase Young.
All right.
Derek's answer to every one of them is just Buckeyes.
And the last one we'll discuss, and then we'll end this one, is guard. So for me, I like the idea of a Kevin Zeitler. Let's bring him back. I know he's older, like 34 even, but he's still a damn good player as a pass blocker and a run blocker. And to bring him in here and plug him in for a year, and it doesn't keep you from drafting somebody for the future. Second, third, fourth, fifth round, whenever, for right guard. I almost hope we double up at this position, though. And I'm just going to say Dalton Risner because I've wanted him for 3 years. And I think you get him on a decent deal. So there's your left guard. Zeitler's your right guard. I feel good about Joe Burrow being protected, which honestly this team doesn't do shit if Joe Burrow is not protected, regardless of what we do on defense or anywhere else. So that's my two. Daniel, how about you for guard?
I think I struggle to see how they don't get one of these top tier interior offensive linemen. That's the way you got to go. Yeah. I think Tevin Jenkins probably. Young.
Getting ready to turn 27.
Like he's a guy. He's played both guard spots at Chicago. It's very clear that, and this is how I view free agency as well. A lot of it is either a connection to that team, and this is something we've seen so often. Daniil Hunter to the Houston Texans. He grew up in Houston. There's so many personal connections that make free agency, click. But he has no ties to Chicago anymore. He's not. They just added 2 interior offensive linemen, so we know
he's gone. We
know he's gone. So all right, he's on the open market. And if I'm the Bengals and if I'm Tevin Jenkins, I got this team approaching me saying, hey, we're willing to pay you to be our starting guard right now. You're on a contender. You get to play with Joe Burrow. How does Tevin Jenkins turn that down? So
3 years, $40 million is a projection.
And I'm good.
Daniel.
I'm good with that.
And well, this season being health is one concern with him. He has had some injury things, and that was a concern coming out. We took Jackson Carman over him, by the way, guys. I'm still not over that.
Stop it.
But a 75.8 pass block grade and 74.3 run block grade, Daniel. That's the type of guy. It's like plug and play in 3 years. We've got this.
Yep. Mm-hmm. No, I'm a big fan of him, and I think the rest of these guys, they're cool. Like Mekhi Becton's the name I floated around. Obviously, he was brought into Cincinnati. The only concern with him, right, is either health, but also was
he's better run blocker. To be fair,
you said what?
Better run blocker than he is, and we pass so much.
Completely, and that's where, like, for him, we'll see. Also, was he a product of playing inside of the great Eagles offensive line? I don't know, but I think Tevin Jenkins and Mekhi Becton are the two. I say, hey, that they're that tier where you bring him in and you're confident in him. You're confident he's got the potential to develop.
Well, we're talking about Jenkins injuries. Sorry, Greg. I want to get. But Will Freeze is the guy at the top of the list, too, from the Colts.
Mm-hmm. And it's actually, what's interesting, Dale? It's actually Fries. I just learned that.
I just assumed it wasn't. Assumed it wasn't, to be fair.
Me too.
All right, Will Fries, baby. I love
Fries. I like Fries.
I kind of want it more now, Chop.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Get the ketchup.
Greg, do you want fries? Yes, with ketchup.
No, I like Fries, but the one that was thinking, Dale, you sold me on him. You'd have to read off his PFF grades. Patrick McCarry out of the Ravens, young guy, still 25, 26 deal. You really sold me on him when we did
71.6 pass block. So and 56 run blocking, 27 years old. But the versatility, because he played right tackle, he's played left, he's played like 4 positions for the Ravens.
Exactly.
Some people say it's Lamar. Like, well, Lamar's like, how would he do outside? I just think he's a good player. I think he'd be fine at left guard. So that's a good one, Greg.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've been preaching on here just like everybody else, Zeitler and Reisner.
Yeah.
But if we're getting fries, we can do fries and rise.
Fries and
Fries and
fries.
Reisner. I mean, any of those three,
There
that
you go.
combination, I would love to take care of both guard positions in our free agency before we even go into the draft. That way we can take a guy later round to develop. So I'm sold on Zeitler as my number one, and my number two could be Fries or Reisner.
No, you come from Chrysler.
Everything we do from now until free agency's over or whatever, we're going to say every signing we want fries with that, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
fries
no
with
doubt.
it.
Yeah.
You want fries with that?
I'll mention a few names, Derek, before you give your pick here.
Yeah.
James Daniels coming off an injury, center guard versatility, projected 1 year, $5.5 million, 27 years old still. I liked him coming out when he was healthy for the Steelers this year before the injury. 66.5 pass block grade, 92.5 run block grade. Seems like a guy who's hitting his peak, and you might get him on, like I said, that 1 year kind of $6 million, let's say $6.5 million. Let's bump it up. I like that. Brandon Scherf, if you want the older guy, 33, 1 year, $6 million, can still pass block. And then Will Hernandez is another guy coming off an injury, but projected at 2 years, $9.5 million. 29 years old. So that's just a few I wanted to mention, but get your pick. Call your shot, baby.
Keep digging.
Honestly,
you need to dig down far enough to get to that Ohio State guy that's available.
No.
I should have traded for Jonah Jackson and played 1 year at Ohio State.
Right. Bring back Billy Price.
He had blood clots, Derek. Why are you trying to kill this guy? Good God.
What? No, I want Becton, man. Like, seeing what he could do with freaking – I didn't see the transition to guard for him. Like, just his size, I thought he would be a great right tackle for us. But seeing him move inside and play as well as he did, sign me up, dude.
I just want to say about Becton, though, I feel like that ship sailed because he literally ate dinner at the precinct last year.
Well, and Pollock was the O-line coach when the Jets – the Jets drafted him. So, like, that connection was there. We should have had him, Taylor Tart, and Christian Fulton last year on 1 year deals, and they all played pretty well.
Yeah.
But, all right, hey, great episode. Almost an hour and a half in. Daniel, plug your stuff. We'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
Amazing
Daniel's
guests.
Not say, I ain't never coming back to this.
Use the big
I'm here for an hour and a half.
No, that was I'm sorry, Daniel. This is a good episode. I'm biased, but this was fun.
No, I appreciate it. I always welcome. I appreciate when I got the text to be back on. I think we got to definitely do this more often. And once again, everybody who's watching the show, make sure you guys give these guys a subscription, right? Make sure these guys do great work. But like I said, I'm just happy to be here and really, really blessed to be a part of. So TWSN, you guys can follow TWSN, the Sit Down with Malik Wright YouTube channel. That's where we post all our content. And my personal is Alameda Views. But like I said, I'm just excited. This is the season where we eat, sleep, and breathe football. And
and if you're not following TWSN this time of year, you're crazy.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Grave mistake.
Yes.
So yeah, I appreciate you guys, and let's definitely do this. I mean, draft season coming up, so we definitely got to do this again.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You're the man, Daniel.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time, brother.
All right.
Who dey?
Good dude right there.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. From
You guys got
California. I think he's
anything
from
else?
California too, and it sounds like he was a Patriots fan.
I
Well, I
thought,
think Derek, you're so.
no, I thought he's from like he said he like New England, and I'm pretty sure he's from like Jersey. Like him and Malik. Malik's from Jersey. Like I feel like these
I
guys.
know, but I think he's a California guy. Pretty sure he's a California
You're
guy.
just like you're a California guy.
No, I think he's a California guy because I thought that they've said on that show before he was from California.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he's still watching and he can put it in chat. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Chris said Cali Pats fan.
Yep.
There you go. You were right, Chop.
But no, Derek. Come on,
I will
man.
never
We got
doubt you
Hudson
again,
back.
Chop.
I mean, I might have been a little off with the Patrick Peterson thing.
Right. But Derek, we got Tanner Hudson back. I figured you'd be running around naked or something, man. I mean,
I did my Huddy Tuddy victory dance already.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm naked from the waist down, honestly.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Drew Sample just signed an extension. It's breaking news.
No way.
He's got 2 years left on the extension he
might
signed
only
last
have
year,
one,
right?
to be honest.
Or was it 2 years ago?
That would be a Bengals move, though.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like any of these tight ends.
Well, we kept expecting they'd at least sign a deal with Gesicki, and then they're like, "No, here's Tanner Hudson and an extension for Drew Sample, guys."
Yeah,
they definitely need to do. God damn, please do something good over the weekend before Monday.
Yes,
they need to get some of these pieces hammered down.
Remember this. Remember this.
I've got that same one there. I will not get the 5th year sticker though.
I will.
Next week, Dale, we're on full watch. I mean, who knows how many shows we can do next week? We're on full watch.
Hey,
we might
I'll be working the night shift.
Much. We might be doing shows pretty much all week. I mean,
yeah.
If you guys want to
come on here and probably be yelling to be
at
fair.
2:00 in the morning because we did something, I will be more alive at that time.
Well, Derek, you could be our night guy, you know.
No, you and Chuck can both be the night guys. Me and Dale the daytime.
Yeah, there we go. We'll split shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chop, you gotta say you're taking
my job away. I'm just fucking chilling here. Like I've been in the night shift the whole time.
You gotta say that you're going to take a poop, and then you and Derek do a live show for like 10, 15 minutes if we get breaking news at night.
Yes.
This is a great
All
idea.
Right, Derek, set it up. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You're on your toilet at your job, me on my toilet at my job.
Yeah. I got a
Battle Shits live free agent.
Battle Shits, yeah.
I got an office desk I'll sit at.
No, it's got to be on the toilet.
All right, well, let's do it from the toilet. Do it.
Yes.
Are we pulling our pants down, or are we just sitting there?
No, I'm gonna actually poop. I might as well poop while I'm in there.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I might be able to cook something up.
Hell yeah.
Follow Bengals and Brews for explosive shits and news.
You never know when one of these Battle Shits episodes are going to pop up. So if you want to be part of that, you should probably like and subscribe.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. I'm getting yelled at right now. So
what a pussy.
I know. Hey, next weekend, Midwest Best Barbecue.
Right.
We are going to be live.
Next Saturday, 3:30. Going to be giving away 2 tickets to the Project Game Day at the
It's
Full-In
Rib Weekend
Warehouse.
that next weekend too.
And it'll probably be a shit show because we probably won't do nothing.
Derek, Sarah is definitely going, right? I asked Marissa again.
Yes,
like, hey,
Sarah
I'm going
is
to buy
going.
your ticket to. Well, she's going to the Midwest, but is she also going to the draft event?
Yes, she is.
I know you told me yes before, and I told Marissa that, but I had to tell. I said, Marissa,
I'll have Sarah text her.
I'm like, Marissa, I'm going to buy your ticket. She's like, well, what am I even going to do? I'm like, well, Sarah's going. She's like, well, why didn't you just say that in the first place?
Well, tell Marissa.
And I was like, I told you
that.
John will be there and he can entertain the both of them.
There you go. They'll probably go missing for a few hours, but
there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Derek. Bye, bitch.
Love y'all.
See ya. Kisses.
Well, I hate you. I hate you. No, just kidding. I love
you. All right, you know what? I've been saving this for a good time. You know what I think needs to happen? We need to spump this up.
Greg's getting a naked dot bot.
Is it peanut butter on the penis?
We need the dot bot going. We need the dot bot going. To get T-sign, we need the dot bot going. 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 Need the dot bot going. Dot bot going. Let's go do this. Come on.
We need a dot bot going. Need a dot bot going. Need a dot bot going. Need a dot bot going.
All right.
Oh.
That extension's happened.
It's happening.
Friday.
Come on.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
do this.
Hey, look, hold on. Is it? Nope, that wasn't it. I imagine it any minute now that the dot bot ended.
It's going to be Cody Ford.
Yeah.
Probably. Dale, it's going to be because I said
it's going to break us. Cody Ford resigns 1 year.
Well, I was texting Dale.
$17 million for Cody Ford.
Just give me somebody, and I'm like, I'm going to regret saying this. You're like, Greg, knowing you're like, it's going to be Cody Ford. And I'm like, fine, I'll take Cody Ford.
Oh, man, Greg's getting desperate.
I'm desperate. But I'm still positive, but I'm desperate.
Greg, that was great. Good way to end it. Good guest with Daniel. And the off season's ramping up. We'll have guests. I got some stuff out there. You know, maybe a little Joe Goodberry coming on soon. Checking the schedule. Joe's always awesome to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have some people on. We'll have some fun. And if we don't have people on, we'll just have fun with ourselves.
We'll just have fun with
We'll
ourselves.
play with ourselves.
Hey, look, man, I've been married for 20-something years. I'm used to that.
It'll be 20 years for me. No, it'll be 20 years for me in October, Chop.
Hey, congratulations, man.
Congrats, buddy.
I'm 40, and I will have been married for half my life.
I'm 23 years in, so I'm not at half yet.
That's what happens when you knock up your girlfriend.
At 58, I think.
And her dad's a preacher. Oh, shit. I'm saying too much again. Shit, I'm saying too much. I love her, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes she sucks.
Right, for a percentage.
But she doesn't ever really actually suck, sucks,
Oh.
I don't get that anymore 20 years in.
I did.
I mean, you got it. Like, you got it not too long ago.
Not this calendar year.
But last calendar year.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Good job, Chop.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I'm proud of you, brother. But yes, everyone have a good weekend, as Tina said.
Yes.
And good job, Greg. But
have a good weekend, everybody.
Tina, I love you. Matt,
Yes.
I love you. Crip, Overzealous, everybody that tunes into this dumb ass show. But sometimes we have good guests with good information.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We try. I mean, we try.
Yeah.
Not real hard, but we try a little bit.
You try a lot harder than I do.
Yeah, I try to have stuff prepared at times, but honestly, the people that tune in is what makes this show.
Yes.
The people that comment, the people that ask questions, that keep everything firing. The Brew Crew is undefeated in life, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I love them so much. And we'd be remiss, though, not to also promote Project Game Day, Greg.
Exactly. Are we saying it?
No, Greg didn't pay attention. I said we got to promote the Project Game Day event.
Yeah, we are promoting Project.
And once again, thank you to Travis.
Yes.
6 tickets, man.
That's nice. And he's not going.
4 of them he's giving away, and 2
Yeah.
of them he might keep, but he might give those away later too. That's all.
That is awesome. And look, maybe like I say, we're excited, and you never know what could pop up. But eventually, you just never know.
Yeah.
So we can't announce Dejon Anthony or Joseph Osai?
Wait a minute. What? Wait,
What?
huh? I was sleeping.
No? Okay, never mind.
Is this on? Yep.
Oh, we're still live?
Yeah.
Oh shit, my bad.
Yeah, we're still live. So no, we're not allowed to announce that yet, Dale.
Okay.
All right.
We may have some players at the event.
Possibly players, announcements to follow.
Yeah, like follow Project Game Day where we'll do the announcements. And now Greg's mad at me. Look at his face. Look how mad he is at me for. No, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Everything's a possibility, right?
Yeah.
There could be other people, other things in the works. It's going to be a fun event no matter what because Pork Chop will be there. Pork Chop will be there.
Yeah,
Free
that'll
hugs.
make it fun.
Free hugs.
It's true. You can ask Marshall, who I haven't seen in the chat, but he's normally here. He can testify to the hugs. He could give me a good recommendation.
He was on here yesterday when we did the
was.
pop-up show. Yeah.
Yep.
But, well, Overzealous, we did sign someone, Tanner Hudson. And yesterday, we signed Jackson Kirkland.
That's right, man. Free agency's looking really good so far. We've already signed 2
To be fair, have we signed anyone? Yes.
Yes, we technically have.
2 in the last 2 days. We're on a roll.
There we go. Let's keep it going.
But yeah, get your Project Game Day tickets, man. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a
lot.
lot of fun. We had a
Bowling
great
Warehouse. I've never been like I gotta.
Neither have
I gotta
I.
warm up the arm, boys.
right. I've seen a slow-mo of Greg trying it though.
Yeah, no. I tell you what, it's hard, but this is
That's
my
what
trick.
she said.
I walked into that one. This is my trick here. You have to gently throw it. Don't try to drill it. You have to gently throw it. That's my way of doing it.
Oh, I almost did a spit take.
Yes, it is, dude.
You can't do it hard.
Right.
You can't do it hard.
You literally have to do it hard.
You
Oh,
gotta
wait,
be,
the foaling.
You gotta be gentle and put
The
some
foaling.
touch. Put some touch into it.
You put like an arc on it, right, Greg?
Yeah, like maybe a curve.
Yeah, you gotta do a good upward curve. A nice upward curve. Hooked. You gotta hook it.
Well, I better use the pinky here for
You gotta have it hooked. like hooked. It's gotta have an arch like this when you throw it. Boom,
sometimes Tina, sometimes
Yes.
you gotta use your tongue.
touch.
right. Sometimes you have to get down there and
Dale, it's like that song from Transformers. You got the touch.
look, like John says, my seat neighbor says, when you can't
There he is.
when-
you speak his name.
there you
There
go.
we go.
When you can't cut the mustard, you gotta lick the jar.
Yep.
There you go. Marshall, we were just talking about you. I need
That's
you
what
to
I
tell
said.
everybody in the brew crew about my hugs. You're my guy.
He's like that one wrestling guy.
Ted DiBiase.
No,
Except
well,
skinnier.
yeah, well, yeah.
Like, Ted
he's literally
DiBiase
like
went
that.
on a diet.
But no, the one guy now that's like, say his name and he appears. I'm blanking on his
I don't
name.
watch
Somebody
that.
in the chat has.
Is it
I know
John
you-
Cena?
No, John Cena. John Cena turned heel, by the way.
I
Hill
saw
means
the
bad
video.
guy.
Like, how's that bad? Just because he pinned a guy that was already knocked out? That's how he turned heel?
No. He kicked Cody Rhodes, and the Rock said, because the Rock's like, hey, I want your soul. And then that guy said, go fuck yourself, Rock. Cody Rhodes, by the way. And so John Cena's like, oh, that was awesome, and daps him up, and then he looks over at the Rock, and the Rock goes. So he kicks him in the balls and turns bad guy for the first time in 20-some years. You can't see me. So yeah, that's the wrestling portion of this show that we just we had. Joe Hendry. It's Joe Hendry. Say his name and it's very corny, but it's good. TNA. Yeah. NXT.
Shallow thrust. I just now read Marshall's fucking comment, shallow thrust. Yes.
Shallow.
That's my game.
Yes. I'm gonna break them walls down.
I pinky promise her while we're going at it.
What do you think about that, Greg?
Yeah, Greg.
Hey, you're good. You're on the go, buddy.
Pinky's up.
Yeah, Joe Hendry. See, say his name, and Matt's picking up what I'm throwing down.
All right.
And shout out Matt, who also bought like 6 tickets off the rip. With the Project Game Day and that is what matters, guys. We're trying to raise money for charity,
Right.
but we're ordering out the lanes and we're ordering out the Midwest. So that's what you get with your $30 ticket. You get both of those things included, and a great time, and free hugs from Pork Chop.
Free
They're not
hugs
free.
from
They cost $30 per person.
I could do a hugging booth for charity.
Yeah.
I feel like it's part of the ticket cost.
All right, part of the ticket. It's part
Yeah.
of the entry fee. Like throwing a hot dog down a hallway.
Yeah, I was about to.
Oh shit, man.
Great show, man. See,
Great
I'm
show.
smiling. I'm having fun. Even through all the Bengals chaos, where I'm the meme, where it's just the fire, everything. I'm not happy with the Bengals direction, but I'm happy with the Brew Crew. I'm happy with my boys right here. I'm happy with Derek. I'm happy with, having a guest like Daniel Alameda on. That means something, right?
Absolutely.
And life is hard. Life is difficult for all of us. We're all going through something.
Yes.
But find your people, find your place, and smile when you can. And I'm smiling because I've got my people, I've got my place, and you guys are awesome.
Absolutely, buddy.
Love y'all.
Love y'all, man.
Family.
Your dad.
Family.
Family.
Family.